The Tony Tukumbo Fernandez Show is all about promoting the true life and success stories of African and Caribbean achievers around the world. If there's a product or initiative you wish to share, feel free to give us a call. The number is 0788 280 9005. A very warm welcome to all our listeners around the world. You're welcome to the Tony Tukumbo Fernandez Show, promoting the true life and success stories of African and Caribbean achievers around the world. So if there's a product or initiative you wish to share, feel free to give us a call. The number is 0788 280 9005 or visit our website at www.tonyfernandez.co.uk. We have some amazing guests lined up for the rest of the year. But today's show, we have an amazing guest. She's a friend. I've known her for about 3 years now. She's a qualified psychotherapist and supervisor, and she provides a lot of care in a comfortable space with people who have got vulnerabilities. And also, she also deals with couples who go through trauma, and she's been doing that for quite a while now with an MSc in addiction psychology. So it's amazing to have CORNETTA Williams on the show. Lovely to see you, CORNETTA. I was just thinking to myself this morning, it's amazing how I've never had you on the show all this while. But for the benefit of all our listeners, can you just tell us a bit about yourself, your background, and the things you're passionate about?
Oh, thank you and good evening, everyone. But thank you very much for that wonderful introduction, Tony. Yes, oh my gosh, it's been a journey. So, where do I begin? I think I've always been fortunate that I've had wonderful people around me. And so, from quite a young age, I always knew that I wanted to do art and I wanted to work in the community because I went to a school that did community-based projects, so working with disabilities. And at the time, so I used to work with the elderly and people with additional needs, like had epilepsy. So from 12 years old, part of the school's ethos was kind of to be of service of some kind. And for some reason, that kind of resonated and connected with me. So my work life for over 30 years has been a balance of art based stuff and kind of working in the community based stuff. So, which found me working within social services, working in probation, in prisons, teaching a number of different things, working in PRUs. So, just a range of cohorts. So, I have always followed the two passions anything that was art, architecture, design. I went to art school. And then the other side of me was anything that was community. So, really, from quite an early age, I've been able and blessed to be able to do both, I think, and kind of balance out that need to kind of be of service in some way within the community.
I mean, talking about early age, what was life growing up like as a child? And how did that shape your teenage and experience lives as well?
So I had a complex life. Me and my brother went into care of the local authority. So within the UK, that's like within children's home systems. And I think that's why initially I didn't want to go into mental health, because my mum had schizophrenia, and it really impacts on the way that she saw the life and the way that she parented me. And so, but her profound, I suppose, mental health condition left a legacy of wanting to support others in some ways. So my childhood was a blend of slightly traumatic events with some really beautiful events at the same time. And it's that kind of nurture nature. So definitely when I wasn't a therapist but was doing community-based works, I had an affinity to connect with other people's stories because they were my stories. The difference being, and I wonder if that's kind of the nature part of you where you're resilient, is that actually I didn't turn to drugs. I turned to kind of wanting to kind of help people in the community. And so I was fortunate to have some people spotted around in my life who was quite integral in the way that I am as a woman now today.
And that's very positive. That's a very positive element that you were able to have that and not turn into other factors as well. But in that whole journey, what did you learn about yourself through that journey?
I know what I want. Funny enough, I was talking to my sister before I came on call today. I have always been able to kind of visualize the things that I want. So even if I didn't have those skill sets at the beginning, I acquired them along the way. And I think going to art school, um, I found out that I was dyslexic when I was doing my first degree. And my professor at school said, "You write like an 8-year old, but you have a mind of a doctor. When are you going to do a PhD?" So I've always had adversity and some struggles getting to where I want to get to. But what I do have in bucket loads, that if I've decided I'm going to do something, that I would do that. And then I would work out a strategy to be able to do that. And I also think I had some wonderful people, and I tapped into that resource and identified really wonderful people to kind of guide me, because no one is an island and you need support. What I needed support. People could do it on their own, but I know that if wherever I wanted to go and what I wanted to achieve, I would, tune into people who would help me. But I think going to art school was pivotal in the way that I saw life, because it made you very much an independent thinker, made you kind of probably evaluate and kind of problem solve in a way that I didn't. If I had a traditional kind of upbringing of going to do A levels and maybe going to do kind of traditional jobs, I might not would have had it. And then actually that independence and view. So I wrote a book when I did installations. I wrote books when I was younger, when I was doing more art based on the community side and the artistic side of me when I was quite young. And, and that was all because of kind of the people around me being very artistic, but also an innate belief in myself. And I didn't have the traditional upbringing of mum and dad in those spaces. I was in a children's home. So I suppose in those eras, those children would have had adverse childhood experiences. They'd have had a lot of complexities within there. And the success rate of these children would mean that they would more likely than not, end up in prison or on drugs or just struggling for quite a while in their lives. But I think what was quite helpful, I was in a white middle class area. So there was aspiration. I could see what I wanted. I could see that it was possible to live in big houses. I could see that I could kind of navigate my space to the things that I wanted.
I mean, talking about navigating your space, and you also spoke about visualizing your dreams and making that a reality.
Mm.
What would you say it takes in today's world for us to visualize our dreams and make those dreams come true?
So, as a psychotherapist and working with clients, is shutting out the noise. It's shutting out the negative chatter that we have within ourselves. It's shutting out the noise or the belief systems that other people impose. We might come from family of origins where actually most people are doctors or most people can achieve, but actually you want to be an artist. How do you go against the family grain and be the person that you want? Some of it is not about kind of not working. So having a vision, having a global vision that's really big, and then what the brain likes, yeah, we can go for it because the brain is quite optimistic and human beings are quite optimistic. Not everyone, but majority of the time, we're quite optimistic about the things that we want to achieve. What we're not so good at is problem solving the things that we don't have the skill set for, or when we come up against problems, we haven't found a strategy to work through those ideas and kind of work out how can we do this. So some of it is having a big umbrella for big ideas, knowing that you probably can do them. So that might be, do you need resources like finances? Do you need to go back to school? Do you need to talk to a mentor? Whatever it is. But also, most importantly, is working out when you have problems, how can you problem solve those problems? And if you get into a space where you can do that, the other part of that is kind of not getting too excited. So deferring gratification. So this is the neuroscience of it all. If you get too excited earlier on, the brain thinks that you've done it and thinks, oh, we don't have to do it. If you tell everyone what you're about to do, um, and and don't kind of follow through, the brain thinks you've done it. So sometimes you've got to hold back. So I had a friend who said to me when I was doing the podcast, and I had been thinking about it, planning it for the past 5 years, and working out how I want to do things. And they said to me, "Well, Counselling, you never said anything to me." And it wasn't because I didn't need their input. I needed to work out the strategies myself and prepare myself to do that. So sometimes we need to hold back and not say anything.
Now, when we had the very first COVID about 3 years ago,
Mm,
there were mixed reactions all over the world. For some people, it was a very, very depressing period. For some people, it was a way for them to like come out of their shell and make their dreams come through. And big, big, big things happened then as well. I mean, for me myself, it was a very profound and successful period for me. And I remember for that in that period itself, it was it was a beginning for some of your journeys to unfold, to become an entrepreneur. How was that
mm.
period for you itself now? And how do you think it has changed you as a person?
I think it's greatly changed. If you think about, I suppose, 6 or 5 years ago, so I always wanted to be self-employed and always wanted to have my own business. And one of the first things that I did when moving from the south, so I'm from the south of the country up to the north of the country, was to plan. And so I got a mentor, and that helped me kind of strategize how I was going to achieve my goals over the next kind of 5 years. So I needed to plan. And so by once I got into round my head, because we are our own worst enemies, I think in my early days, I kind of had resistance or procrastinated a bit and wasn't so sure or wasn't as confident in. I knew that I was going to do it because I moved right across the country to do it. But actually, it's a big risk when you're used to having a really good salary to decide that actually all your money is going to come from your own endeavors. That took a big risk. But fortunately for me, in COVID times, a business that would have taken 2 years to get off the ground took me less than 6 months to get off the ground because my business is the business of mental health. I was able to be online to talk to clients all over the world about their mental health during a time where we were all struggling. And so I must admit I was very fortunate right from the get go. Once I got out of my own way to kind of do the business. The other bit was actually you really do need to plan. So I spent a long time before I got it off the ground as well. So about 6 months beforehand, thinking about marketing, doing all the free workshops that this country offers to get me prepared and to I knew my strengths, and my strengths is working with people within the mental health, looking and supporting anxiety, depression, and complexities. My clients tend to be quite complex. They have adverse child experience. So I knew that I was good at that. But to be in business, in mental health or any kind of business, you have to have a business model that you can work from. And so my other strength is that I'm a coach too. So I also supervise people, clinical practice, and also be a coach to other people in practice. So it's kind of using the skills that I would give to everyone else to give to myself. I don't know if that answered the question.
Yes, it does. It does. Okay, so
Yeah.
now let's talk a bit more about your business now, because we also have your website address at the bottom of the screen in case people want to reach out to you. But let's
Mm.
just talk about your business now and the services you provide, both offline and online.
So I do a range of things. So in terms of I work with individuals, couples, families, um, in person or online around a range of mental health issues. And it's usually linked to trauma, adverse child experience. I work with people who are in recovery of addiction. So it could be that they're using for a long time and they're in recovery and they need strategies. I also support people who are in business in terms of looking at a clinical space or a therapeutic space to talk about business ideas and frustrations and anxieties of running a business, because that kind of entrepreneurial person needs mental support. I also run workshops. So last week I was in London delivering a workshop on mental health with promoters and DJs. I work within children's homes to support staff and young people around mental health and transitioning around health. It seems like there's lots of things that I am doing, but it's all under the umbrella of mental health and support, and but most of all, flourishing, because mental health is a spectrum. And so my business is, on one hand, you come into service or come into for support, and you're really struggling. But I hope what you get from working with me is at the end of it that you're flourishing, you're healing, and you're growing. And so is the I'm interested in human, Maslow in terms of hierarchy of needs, that kind of growth mindset. I'm very much into positive psychology and within there. And the other part of my business is the podcast and providing free mental health information out to the world and kind of developing that space and looking at the diaspora, so, because not everyone can afford therapy. It's really expensive, especially if you've got long-term issues. So the podcast is a way of kind of disseminating mental health advice and reels that is free, and provide online workshops within those spaces. So my support team are in Nigeria, who support me in terms of kind of supporting the work and practice and providing a kind of a global reach, because I have clients um, in Dubai and all over the world, Switzerland, France. And so it is a kind of, I don't tend to work with people who have really difficult needs. This is not the space when you're online. This is about being safe within your own mental health and supporting your needs. So this is someone who is my avatar, or the people that I think about have kind of a real good understanding what the problem is and are able to work and problem solve and just need support and advice and a space to kind of reflect on their kind of issues. But in terms of clinical practice, where I work with lots of organizations across the country, it really is about supporting best practice and looking at the staff and how they are working in terms of their practice around the issues that are coming up in practice. And most importantly, and the most exciting part of my work is working with creatives. So I am blessed to work with musicians and actors around kind of social anxiety, performance, and looking at and supporting their own mental health. So that's really nice as well.
Okay, that's fantastic. And I'm very proud of you. Keep up the amazing work you're doing. In case our online listeners around the world would like to reach you in terms of your services, how can they get through to you?
So I am a BACP registered practitioner. So my name's Cornetta Williams Walker. You can find me online in terms of Counselling Reflections. So www.counsellingreflections.com. And my business email address is cornetta at counsellingreflections.com. So they're the platforms in which you can kind of find me. And then I have a business number that you can contact me on as well.
And we
And I
have,
offer free consultation. So it's not about you in therapy, this is about relationship building, and not everyone feels safe to work with everyone. So I offer a free consultation for people to kind of discuss how they feel and see whether or not they feel that they can work with me.
fantastic. Keep up the amazing work you're doing at the moment. You're doing amazing. I'm so proud of you. On a very final note, what message do you have for all our listeners around the world today?
I would say, in particular with men, I would say that actually go and seek support. So we know that within the UK, mental health is rising, suicide ideation amongst men is rising. And when you think about half of the population in the world is men, and less than 30% of men go and seek support for their mental health conditions and don't use family, don't use church as a way of supporting. So, to men, I invite you to kind of have a conversation with a therapist, whether it's a male therapist or your barber. So, don't just keep it to yourself. I think with everyone else within the importance of community, the importance of leaning into and finding your own tribe. So you might have a sense of who you are in terms of your community, but your own tribe could be someone else millions of miles away across the other side of the world. So finding your people is really important because we can't do it on our own. I haven't got here because I did it on my own. Lots of people have helped me to do it. I've got a wonderful team who are helping me. I couldn't do the work that I was doing without my support of Val, and he's based in Nigeria. I haven't been to Nigeria, but I need to go. And and together we do the work. So it's really important, to kind of have that support around you. And don't be frightened to talk about mental health because it's a spectrum. On one hand, some people have some really difficult experiences that need to be processed or never get to be processed. Another time is anxiety and worry. And so sharing how you feel about the things that are going on for your life is important. And also, surround yourself with people who are growth mindset. really be energized by the people that are positive and that are not going to hold you back. I was lucky in terms of my network when I decided to be self employed, move right across the country. No one said no to me. They just basically said, how can we help you, CORNETTA? And so it's really important to say, to round yourself. This is not about not having people say no, because you really do need people who know you. But it really is important to recognize that actually you need people to sometimes support your biggest dreams in life. So I would say to the younger people out there, go for it. Really dream big. It doesn't matter what other people think. Really dream big. Have that biggest dream possible. And then I would also say this is not about not doing work. Everything is hard work. To get to where you need to is hard work. And not be afraid of mistakes. My biggest kind of reflection on me was the fear that I had. I danced with fear, and fear was scary to me. Whereas actually, really focusing on um, accepting what is fear trying to tell me? Why am I being held back by my own procrastination? Why am I being held back by my own negative story? So if you can actually confront your fears, confront your procrastinations, there is nothing that you can't do. And as a woman of color and as a human being on this world, I really kind of embrace that actually at this moment in this time, I'm going to do anything that I want. That is, as long as I'm doing good for myself and others, there is nothing that can stop you in this world.
And it's amazing you touched on fear there, because I think sometimes in life, for us to be very successful, whatever success is to each and
Mm,
every one of us, we have to learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable. So
yeah.
keep up that amazing work, keep shining all the way, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for allowing me to be on the show and to share my philosophy of life at this moment in time. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.